Hello, everybody, and welcome
Hello.
back to A Game of No Halves. This is the podcast with me, Miles, and my dad, Bob, who sat to my left, where we discuss Bob's fictional football team that he's owned for like 30 years.
Yeah, actually even longer.
There you go. It's called North London FC, and if you've been following the podcast for a while, you would have heard the various exploits of North London in the football world, and its many trials and tribulations. More ups than downs over the years, though, I say.
More ups than downs.
By far,
yeah, except for last season, which wasn't successful for us at all.
Well,
but we're putting that right this year. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, so today's a bit of a special episode. We're actually sat in the dining room at Bob's house right now. And part of the North London world is that you actually do play the games with the foam football around the house, which is behind us. If you're not watching us, this is the actual match ball.
This is the
FIFA approved.
The actual match ball. Yes, it is. Do you know, I've literally been kicking this ball around the house for years.
Yeah.
And it replaced a purple one, which is a little bit smaller than this, which required real super skill. But this, I've got so used to kicking this around and making it sing and dance and talk.
It's very like moth-eaten and bobbly now, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's great.
Maybe we should get you a new match ball at some point. If you've not listened to the podcast before, you're unfamiliar, North London exists in Bob's head, but you do play the games out like a sort of Subbuteo match, but by yourself with a foam football in the house, right?
Yes, and a lot of people are asking me, how this works, where I can be the home team and the opposition in one match. Well, it's simple, because if I'm playing as North London, so I've got possession of the ball at the moment, and I'm kicking it through the house, and I make a pass, and that pass doesn't complete. In other words, it doesn't bounce back to me properly.
Yeah, so
I give away possession.
You're walking down the house and you're playing 1-2s off the wall and the furniture and stuff.
Off the furniture. Corners are good.
Yeah,
particular.
okay.
Particularly the corners in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because I can do, it hits two walls of a corner and comes back to me.
Okay.
So then if I lose possession, like it doesn't come back in quite the right way, suddenly now it's the opposition in possession, and I play exactly the same way on their behalf. So I'm still attacking a goal, and if they build up a great move and score, they've scored.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so...
Right, because that's actually one of the questions. This episode we're going to do is going to be a little bit of a special episode. It's going to be a bit of a Q&A. So we've been asking for your questions on social media. If you don't follow us, by the way, at A Game of No Halves on Instagram and TikTok and everything like that. So we've been asking for people's questions. We've got cups of tea in our hand right now in the dining room.
Cheers.
Cheers, Father.
Cheers, Miles.
And we are going to go into all the questions and answer them, hopefully, for people that have some queries about how North London works. And that was actually one of the first ones, was like, how does the opposition get possession? So that's it. So you're playing the ball around, and if you just misplace a pass somehow, you become the opposition.
I do, and I can even step forward to try and win the ball. So I visualize myself receiving the ball, and if it's slow coming back at me, I literally can, as it were, step in front of myself to win possession off myself.
How exactly do you...
But it does work in my head.
Yeah. Just vividly imagining being on the pitch in your head is basically what's happening at all times. Yeah,
it is. And we're at like where we are now, the right back... So if I'm North London and I'm attacking, okay, the right back would be there.
Okay.
And I'd be now sort of taking the ball in midfield.
Yeah, this is great, because we're sat in the middle of part of the pitch, I suppose, right? In the dining room here in the house. Yeah. So we're, in the kind of defensive third of the field right now, are we?
Yeah,
where we're sat
on the right, defensive side.
We're ruining the turf. The groundsman's going to be horrified.
Well, if you notice, this carpet here, or this big rug, is thicker than in most other parts of the house.
Oh.
So when the weather isn't good and the pitch is heavier, I tend to play more of the match in here, because it more accurately replicates
that is ridiculous.
The conditions that I can see happening outside.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's like a shag pile rug, isn't it? So it is like a lawn that's not been mowed for a few weeks.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. But it does, if there's wind outside, I honestly do make an allowance or build into the moves a wind factor. So
It's like, you're playing golf on the Wii and you've got to like adjust where you're aiming the pass to account for the ball.
Precisely, yeah. No, but so the thing is, when it's windy outside and the wind's blowing, the rain is pouring down, I'm playing a much shorter pass game unless I've got the wind behind me. In which case, I can use the wind to my advantage because then I can
launch
long
it up to
ball.
Paul Macaulay or whatever his name was.
Yes, yeah. I don't play a long ball game, by the way. It is building from the back, and I've done that since 1994. As you'll probably know if you've been watching us and listening to us, I invented a lot of the tactics that you see being played out in the Premier League now in 2024 because I was building from the back. I didn't long ball it. Well, I can't. Where would I long ball it to?
Yeah, no, it's just going to hit the wall.
So I've got to build up from the back. So, and I put myself under pressure. I imagine that I've got forwards. Absolutely,
you're playing at match pace. You're not.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like
it's
a training
bit more
drill.
walking pace these days, but
True.
it was part of my. It has been all along part of my fitness regime that I can. I even put my apps on it. So that I could see, I'd do 1.5 miles or 2 miles. I mean, I'm absolutely not kidding. Just kicking the ball around. Yeah.
Incredible. So there you go. So that's how, the opposition can get the ball and you become them as the game goes on.
Yes.
I mean, it's interesting. So do you ever get a time during a game where you just suddenly find a real bit of inspiration and form as the opposition and suddenly you find yourself 3-0 down or something?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I mean, some of the great matches I played have been high-scoring games.
Yeah.
So the opposition will be, and particularly if it's a team that I particularly like that I'm playing against, where I know all the players.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that sometimes is sometimes a bit difficult because let's say I'm playing in the Champions League and I'm in the group stage and I'm playing a team that isn't Barcelona or isn't Real Madrid. I don't necessarily know all the players in that team. So consequently, I can't become them when I get the ball.
Yeah, that's what
you see what I'm saying? So, in the days of Barcelona and Iniesta and Xavi and Lionel Messi, God, I mean, when I became Barcelona, when I got the ball, I could imagine myself, those little triangles they play between them, But if it's somewhere, I don't know, RB Leipzig or something, I don't know the players as well. So I'd be getting the ball and I wouldn't know who I am.
Yeah.
So I'd have to kind of think that through. And, even the formations I wouldn't know quite as well. So I'm more likely to get a big score myself against a team I don't know very well than I am against a Real Madrid or Barcelona because...
Okay. Well, naturally, I suppose.
Yeah, I can picture myself.
In real life, that would happen as well, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've got a few other questions on my phone. I'm going to hold up in front of myself here and ask you.
Right.
So that was one of them, is that how does the opposition score? And so it's exactly the same way as you would score, but you're just pretending to be them, basically, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, one of the matches fairly recently, I was 3-0 down after 24 minutes. I mean,
Did you come back?
Yeah, I did. I just hadn't focused in.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I hadn't switched on yet.
Your mind was still in the dressing room or
yes, and the opposition was just running right through me. So
this is insanely good. Okay. Another question we had from Instagram. Are Bob's games timed or does he just blow the final whistle when he's winning?
No, I don't. No.
But that's a good point.
That's a good question, isn't it?
So are you out here every week playing a full 90 minutes?
No, not 90 minutes. It's a bit like, in that way, it's a bit like Football Manager.
Yeah.
In that.
The game sort of flies by and if there's highlights, then they...
Yeah. I mean, but I do play to a pattern in so much as I'm looking at my watch, see how long I've been playing for, and I'm thinking, right, there's 12 minutes to half time, let's say. And because what I don't have, obviously, is those breaks where the ball's gone out of play, it's got to be fetched. I'm looking around for a throw-in,
Yeah, does the ball ever go out of play? Are there throw-ins? How does it work?
Well, actually, there aren't many throw-ins, no, because
the only way I can imagine the ball going out of play is if it goes out of a door that's open or something.
Yeah, this is what it is in that respect. Actually, now that I think about it, I hadn't really kind of defined this before, but it is kind of pure football because the ball is
it's
absolutely
like
constantly in play.
Yeah, it's like you're playing an indoor five-a-side game, I suppose.
Or in a cage,
Yeah, there's just walls around you.
Yeah. So you're using the walls, they're bouncing off, they're coming back to you like that. And so it's constant. The only time that it does go out of play, obviously, is if I shoot, goes past the goal, and it's gone,
Okay.
We're now ready
like
for
behind the coffee table or whatever it was.
Yeah. So we're now ready for a goal kick.
Last night, actually, I play five-a-side a lot, and last night I was playing outside in a kind of a cage environment. And it is fun, but yeah, it's like, it's just constant action. You're running about all over the place.
So if I'm going to take a little break and just kind of catch my breath, I'll use a goal kick to do that.
Okay.
But there are yellow cards as well.
Yeah, go on.
Well, you see, if I'm like, say I'm running through, I'm running through the hall, and I get into the sitting room, and I don't know, I catch myself against the sofa. That sofa is going to get a yellow card.
So the sofa is an opposition player.
Yeah.
Are you imagining them as an opposition player?
Yeah, that's right.
So you know it's going to be. Do you go into your breast pocket and actually pull a card out for the sofa?
No, the ref comes over. He does that. I'm not encouraging him to do it either. I mean,
Well, you'd get a yellow card for that nowadays. They're
a foul like that anyway is
down,
so obvious. Let's face it. If the sofa bashes me as I'm running past it, that's a yellow card.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I mean, it's not as if it's an inanimate object that is stationary the whole time, is it? But there we are. The whole
there are little wood baskets as well. You see, I can avoid this possibility. I've got some wood baskets by the side of the fire in the sitting room, so I can use those to get past this defender.
Right.
And I've got to give the ball away for him to be able to get at me, if you see what I mean, or lose control. And then he can pinch the ball off me. And then as the opposition, he can attack my goal.
Just crazy stuff. Okay, well, that's hilarious. So, yeah, the ball not going out of play, that's actually quite an interesting point, isn't it? It being in action all the time. I mean, yeah, when I play five-side, last night was a frantic game. It was actually a great game. My team were like, I think we were 10-3 down at one point, and we came back to win by, I think it was about 14-12 in the end. It was a great game. Because it's very fast-paced.
Yeah, I mean, you can think maybe that it would be easy for me to rack up ridiculous scores, 14-12.
Well, you did say that one of the most famous games was 8-7.
That was right in the early days. Yeah, and that was against Manchester United.
I don't know that would be the highest scoring game in history, right? In Premier League.
Well, it is. I mean, it's a Premier League highlight. Nobody's matched that. And the thing is, the lead kept swapping as well, but it doesn't happen often. Yeah. In fact, most of my, there were times when I was playing, it depends on the squad. At the moment, I've got a really, really strong squad. It's one of the strongest I've had since like 2002, which was the magical era, I think, with Figo and Zidane and people. And we won our first World Club Championship and everything else.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we'd won it in 98 as well. But that's the benchmark. That was the classic team. And I think the team we've got now is pretty close to matching that team, with Mbappe and...
who else have you got in the team?
Well, I've got
Bellingham. You've got Jude Bellingham, haven't you?
Got Jude Bellingham. Yeah. I've got Dan Olsen. I've got...
For those of you listening that are like, I don't ever heard of that Dan Olsen, it's because he's not actually a football player.
Yeah.
He's a singer from the Faroe Islands. I think we touched on this before.
Yes.
He did actually play in a Champions League qualifying game in the Faroe Islands. But, so he's turned into this world-class player for you, has he?
But, not all squads of mine are as good as the squad I've got right now. So what then happens is, particularly in Europe, I will intentionally go into a game to just keep the opposition from scoring, because then it's also a kind of a trial.
Away from home, you're trying
away
to
from
not
home,
concede. Yeah.
Hostile crowd. You want to just calm everything down, just keep possession.
Like an away trip to Turkey or something is always a moment for that.
Galatasaray, slow the tempo of the match down and just basically keep possession.
Yeah.
And I can do that. I mean, this season even in the Champions League, each of my 3 away games have been 0-0 draws.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're like the Jose Mourinho of your time nowadays.
At certain times, yeah. I'm quite happy
Surprising.
to sit back and defend and get the players I've got, because I'm very big on the right player in the right place in the formation of the team. So even in the transfer market, I'm buying in players to go into that position. You're
not just buying a superstar and trying to fit them in somehow.
No.
They've got to fit the system.
They've got to fit the system.
Yeah.
So even though I'm asking the team to be much more defensive, I'm asking the same players to be more defensive. Where I might change is on the wings, where I want my wingers to funnel back more regularly, so that they fill in that space in midfield.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit Mourinho-ish.
It becomes a block.
You wanting your wingers to track back and everything.
Yeah. So Mbappe, for example, it's possible, and I've done it, that he's on the bench rather than starting in Europe.
Wow.
Because I want...
who fills in for him?
A for Romani. I mean, because he's such a great lad.
And this is another fictional person in your...
I saw him play on the green in the village a little
right,
and immediately took him into my side. The other thing was, though, that I actually couldn't. Nobody knew his name. I was asking on the touchline, "Who is that kid? He's really good." So I sort of made up a name for him.
Ifa Romani, that's him.
Ifa Romani, he's brilliant.
Where's he from?
Well, I think he's Pakistani.
Okay.
I think he's from Pakistan. Brilliant, and he's a lovely lad, and he's. But he's,
he's a model professional.
He is. He's one of those players that doesn't matter what the manager asks him to do, he'll do it 100%.
The Parji song of your team.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, actually.
Yeah.
And the other player who is very much a utility player, as I say, I pick players and buy players to fit the system. It's not the other way around. But I've got a couple of utility players who literally can more or less play anywhere. And one of those is Jonna Green.
Jonna, yeah. This is one of my brother's mates.
Yeah, he played in the garden.
Well, he does. I don't know whether he still does, but he's definitely played for the village team.
He plays in the village team.
He's a good striker, actually. Does he play striker for you?
He plays striker sometimes.
Yeah.
If I've got a problem, if there are injuries and there is a gap and I need to fill it, Jonna will fill it. Yeah. So he can play holding midfield. He played left back at one point.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd be up for that in real life, but, there we go. Okay, other questions that we've got then from social media. This is quite a good one, actually. Do you track the international careers of your fictional players?
I did do at one point.
You did?
I did. Okay. Yes, I did.
Who in particular?
You.
Me?
Because you played in goal for England. You did.
Yeah, of course I did.
And Dylan played on the left wing for England.
Of course, yeah. I imagine I've overtaken Peter Shilton as the greatest English keeper of all time. Or Gordon
Banks,
no,
the thing is, you see, that then I thought, wait... The international games are coming at a time when I'm running club competitions. So, for example, the World Cup.
Yeah.
Exactly coincides with the World Cup.
With the World Club Championship.
The World Club Championship 2002, 6, 10, 14, 18.
Have you basically
22? So they can't play.
You've banned us from playing for our international teams, have you then?
Well, the international teams have rather faded into the background.
Okay.
In my world, they don't exist anymore.
Right, fine.
It's all to do with the club.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So yes and no then.
Yes and no. Used to, and for a little while, but not for very long, I had a go at playing as England.
Oh.
But no, it didn't.
It didn't work.
My heart wasn't in it.
So you did a bit of a Sam Allardyce, managed England for like one game and then swiftly got the sack.
No, I had to let the players go. So then they're with another manager and a different system. And none of them really, actually, obviously you played well in goal. And Dylan down the left. At the time that Dylan went into the England team as a left winger, we were absolutely so short of left wingers.
Well, that was always the case with a lot of the England teams because Paul Scholes ended up playing on the left.
That was exactly the time.
Yeah, I know.
So
that
Dylan's
golden generation.
Left foot, yeah.
It was interesting that the sort of English golden generation, wasn't it? Because left wing was always a bit of an odd one. Joe Cole maybe would have been the guy that played there more often than not.
See, but then I'm playing with players that I'm not really convinced. I was never absolutely 100% convinced about Joe Cole.
Really?
And so whereas with North London FC, I'm playing with players that I've signed. They're there to do the job they're there to do.
Yeah.
So I'm playing with absolute total conviction. And that was the thing with England. I just wasn't.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So, no, I can understand that. It was interesting it has been interesting with England over the years, isn't it? Because I think we're in a patch now again where we've got a bit of a golden generation on our hands, to be honest. Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane and Bukayo Saka. I mean, even at the back, there's a case, I think, for Kyle Walker potentially being the best right back that the Premier League's ever seen.
Yeah.
So will we win something? Euros coming up.
Coming up.
Do you reckon
well,
that's a
I
chance?
feel confident about England this time.
Yeah.
Because of exactly what you just described.
Do you think if we don't win, that's Gareth Southgate's time up?
Well, everything's so results driven, isn't it? It
Yeah, I mean,
really
he's had
is.
he's had 3 tournaments now, hasn't
Yeah,
he? Well,
yeah.
I think I
got
would
so
say we've
close.
surpassed expectations up to now.
Yeah.
But
But now
you know,
we're sort of
you're thinking if
expecting-
you're picking from a midfield of Rice, Bellingham, Foden, and then you've got Saka and
Phil Foden,
Rashford,
brilliant,
and you've got Kane,
yeah.
and they're getting to any team in the world, really, wouldn't they?
would.
So I think if we don't win, I've been a bit of a Gareth Southgate advocate, to be honest, but I do think if we don't win the Euros this time, then I reckon it's his time to step aside.
I'm a big Eddie Howe fan. I know Newcastle it's been a bit up and down for them, but I think he's a great
I like Eddie
manager.
Howe.
He's bright and he talks so well.
Would you ever consider him for the North London job?
Well, no, because what I like to do with North London, I mean, there's only been one change anyway.
Yeah.
And that was when I stopped active day-by-day management, although I'm still very much involved with the management.
Right.
And Dougie Booker took over.
Yeah, good old Doug.
Yeah. And Ben Granville, you see, is there in the
Is
background.
he?
Yeah, of course he is.
What role does he take? So these are, again, for people listening who've got no idea who these people are, they're 2 of my oldest mates.
Yeah.
Who I've played football with at various times.
You're a kind of think tank.
Me.
All of you
all
together.
Of us. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of brain power going into, so long as it doesn't muddy the water, and the Dougie Booker, the manager, is left to kind of get on with what he's doing. Nevertheless, team talks, and it's like the old boot room at Anfield in the 80s. Bob Paisley and the gang that got together, and that boot room, that would be where so much of the tactical conversation went on.
Yeah.
So we've got that with North London, with various elements, and the captain. The captain. By the way, we haven't discussed the captain, have we?
No, well,
De Ligt.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Matthijs de Ligt.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Okay, so he's because was Freddie Haynes captain? Oh no, I was captain for it.
You were
wasn't I?
captain for quite a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's interesting that me and Doug and Ben are. I'm trying to think of the last time we were all together, and it was probably my stag do. At which point, I don't think managerial think tank would have described what we were doing then.
And Simon Astor.
And Si's in there as well. He was on the stag do as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. But players that have been in the team, they know the North London ethos.
They know.
Don't
Well,
they?
this is it. I mean, you look at Man United and all the various managers that they brought in from the outside.
Yeah.
And none of them have really, apart from Ollie,
I think Ollie was hard done by. At
I
United,
do
to be
too.
honest. I think.
When it unravelled for him, though, it unravelled massively.
Did. I mean,
and
there
really
were
quickly.
some of the. Was it like a? I mean, so there was a Liverpool result, wasn't there, where it was like 5-0.
Yeah, but look at the
that,
one with
Ten Hag.
Eric Ten Hag, 7-0.
That speaking of Simon Astor, I was with him in Valencia. This was January last year when it took place, I think. And we were on a bit of a holiday with those people, and we were streaming it in the Airbnb we were renting. And there's a photo of me as the 7th goal goes in. I've just sat there on the table with my head in my hands, and everybody else was absolutely loving it. So sad times.
Yeah, but you see, so with North London FC, I just think it's very, very important to keep the kind of vibe of the club in-house. So you've got all, ex-players, you've got people that have been involved in the club in a really big way through many, many years, who contribute their thoughts to the tradition, about the tradition of the club. And this idea of the boot room, I still think it's a great idea. I mean, it's an old idea, and the situation of it would have been very old school in those days. But now that we've got the technology to analyze games a little more and do all that, why not brainstorm? Because you see great analysts on TV who point out to you things you otherwise wouldn't know.
There must be a lot of that these days, though. I think teams have they've got a whole sort of teams of analysts, don't they? They just literally do that.
But you see, we've got it all in house. So
yeah. Okay, so another question from social media is how does the kind of season run, and like how do you decide what fixtures are happening against which teams and when?
Okay.
Like how does that all work?
Well, I choose the fixture list of one of the promoted teams.
Yeah.
So, and it's the one that's probably most likely to get relegated. Okay. So they're the one team I don't play against in my season.
Yeah.
Because I've taken their fixtures.
Yeah, okay.
So what I do...
You just replace them in the league. So
yes.
let's say if it was Sheffield United.
Yes.
You are in the league in place of them.
Yeah. So what I do is, before the season even starts, the second the fixtures are published...
Yeah.
I go into my PC.
The absolute very second. You can't wait for the fixtures to come out.
No, honestly. I mean, so I go over to the studio, go onto my PC, open up the file for season 2023-24, let's say.
Yeah.
And then I replicate all the sort of grids that I've been using the previous season, transfer to the new file all the overall scorers lists. So they're ongoing.
Yeah.
And so once everything's loaded, that carry over from the seasons before, so the top scorers and everything else, then I literally start typing in all the fixtures.
Just one by one?
Just one by one, yeah.
God, so it goes so long.
August.
Does it not take ages?
It does, yeah. August, whatever. There are usually 3 fixtures in August.
There's been so many comments on social media from people being like, why doesn't this guy just play Football Manager? And
well, because all of the thing is, all of this started, I started all of this before
it existed.
If I could have invented a computer program for this, then it would have saved me a huge amount of time. Because the one thing about it is it's extremely time consuming. So if you imagine, let's say Sheffield United's first fixture is against Burnley, let's just say, and it's away. So you'll see Burnley and then brackets away. And then when I've played that match, that score goes in.
Yeah.
So literally then, and equally, I keep things like a sequence list.
Yeah, the sequence, actually, carry on talking, because we've got the box of records to the right of me, so I'm going to grab them.
Yes.
So you explain, I can show.
Yeah, so let's say I win the first 3 matches of the league, in the Premier League. It's win, WWW, but then let's say I've now got an EFL
By the way,
game.
For people that are watching, this entire cardboard box is full of the records. I don't know whether you can hear it, it's massive.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put this to the right.
So then... you'll see they're in, what is it, italics?
Let's have a look.
Bold italics. Then if it's like an EFL Cup match, it's in light italics. And if it's a Champions League match, it's not in italics, it's bold. Well, you'll see.
Well, so here I've got the 2002-2003 season.
Okay, let's do that.
Because we've already covered this. So if I go into it, hang on.
Yeah.
So it starts off with the squad.
Yeah.
So you've got the whole squad list.
Yes.
For the
and there should be some notes as to who's arrived and from where.
Yeah, so this one, this is the season you signed Ronaldinho.
Yes. So this is not as comprehensive, anything like as comprehensive as the lists I make now.
Right.
So
the squad, you've got the squad numbers.
Yeah.
From 1 to 42 this season.
Yeah.
The player's name and then their age.
Yes.
So
age is important, by the way, because I don't like the average age of my squad to get older.
Yeah.
I mean, the minute I sense that the squad is aging, I want to freshen it up.
Yeah.
And so the average age of the squad is an important factor in terms of my overall feeling about how we look.
Yeah, sure. So, so you've got the squad, you've got the age, all the transfers. So the sequence you're talking about is actually on the very last page.
Yeah, should I just take it, Mark? So Yeah. So here's the sequence here. I don't know whether you can see this, but the opening match would have been the the Community Shield, as I call it, the Charity Shield. Now, that's a cup match, so it's in light, and we lost it. But then the first few matches of the Premier League, draw, win, draw, and then the first Champions League match was a win, and then win, win, win in the Premier League. Second Champions League match was a win, and then separately, here's the individual stats for the Premier League, Europe, the cup matches, that's the domestic cup matches, and then the overall. And look, I lost 8 matches that season.
Is that a lot for a season?
Yeah, it is, but we scored 162 goals. So,
wow.
And the top scorer was Diego Tristan with 44. Now, Diego Tristan turned out to be a massive success for me.
Yeah.
Because he had some skill, Spanish player, tall, a real kind of good number 9.
Yeah, strong.
And strong. And with Zidane and Figo setting up chances for him, he got 27 goals in the Premier League. He got 13 in Europe.
Wow.
4 cup goals, although I didn't play him a lot in the cups because I didn't want him to get injured.
No, of course.
And then so Zidane got 15 Premier League goals and Figo got 16 that season.
There you go.
So there's the whole sequence. So you can see really, really quickly. And if, say, I don't know, there's been 11 matches without a win.
You can see.
All right. I'll put a little note so you can see.
It's funny looking at it, though, because, yeah, so I don't see something referred to as a sequence in any stats anyway, really.
No. But you do see it when you look at, say, the BBC.
You see like the last 5 games,
5 or 6 games.
Yeah, but not the whole season.
But this is the whole season.
Yeah, no, you're right. So,
and you can tell from the printing, instantly I can tell you that's a European game. That's a European game.
And this is because, so looking at it, so you've got obviously L for lost, D for draw, and W for win.
Yes.
And that they're either in bold or italic or normal.
Yes.
So it
I
starts with
keep a list of the teams that beat us.
Yeah.
Right. So as I say, okay, the Community Shield, Arsenal beat us, and then in the Premier League, Chelsea and Fulham.
Okay.
And then in Europe, we were beaten by RC Genk,
Belgian team,
AC Milan, and Man United.
Wow.
Man United also beat us in the Worthington Cup final, as it was called then. And Arsenal beat us in the FA Cup final.
Well, there you go.
So,
we have covered this season in a previous episode.
Yeah,
but go back and listen to that if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but
that's a more detailed, description of how it works.
How many, this must have taken up genuine months of your life, I think, doing this by now.
Yes.
Do you think?
Yes. And, well, the problem has always been, and it exists right this very second, actually, because I'm touring and been really busy.
Yeah.
If I slip behind slightly with the stats, catching up is massive. Because, again, let me just show you, if I may. Sorry, Miles. But look, here's the team. So on this occasion, you were in goal.
Yep.
Cannavaro right back, number 6. Carsten Ramelow. Hofland, number 20. And David Bennett had just come into the team. He was number 26 at that point. My 2 holding midfielders, Jim Dowdle, who was subbed for Zidane on this particular match,
Jeez.
and Casaro. Then right wing was Figo. Centre midfield, Ronaldinho. Left wing, Ian Giggs. and up front, Diego Tristan.
Wow.
But no, just that. And getting it right every single time.
It's
very, very time consuming.
Because you're looking at it, it's in very small text.
Yeah, it is.
And it's laid out with the player name and squad number in the formation. So are you pressing tab constantly to get the text to the right place and then enter for the next line?
I am.
And then you type the name and then tab.
And then even here, as well as the list of subs, now I just go squad. But then I listed all the subs, and I also listed the injured players. So at this moment, Wes Dexter, after playing in it, Jim Dowdle was injured, and Henrik Larsson injured.
Wow, you lost 2 of your strikers there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Wow, that's absolutely unbelievable. And then so you're going in place of a team into the Premier League, and taking their fixtures.
Yes,
but I think you've explained this before, but in case anyone's not heard, the So let's say in real life, so you've taken the fixtures of Sheffield United, and in real life, Sheffield United lose to Man City 3-0.
Yes.
But in your world, on that same fixture, you beat Man City 3-0. What happens then?
But, well, that's the thing. Okay, the actual records of the actual teams in the Premier League stay as they are, because I did try this, but it became so ridiculously complicated to try and track it and say, okay, Man City have lost this game. I'm going to take it away, because the one simplicity of it was taking the league table as it stands and sort of inserting North London into it.
Yeah, okay.
Now, the only exception, and there is an exception to that, is the Champions League.
Yes.
Because I have to look at the other fixtures, work my fixtures into their fixtures to make it logical. The Premier League's big enough that it can absorb it.
Yeah.
But the Champions League tables, there are only like 4 teams.
Yeah, true. So in that case, you're going to the group stage of the Champions League. Do you take the fixtures of what you deem to be the weakest team in the group at that point, or what?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Again, there are all the factors that apply to the Champions League draws anyway. So I can't be in a group with another English team.
Yes.
And because we have 4 English teams in the Champions League,
actually,
that only leaves me 4 more to choose from.
So would you? Okay, so you don't replace an English team in the Champions League?
No, I'd never replace an English team. Okay. And yes, you're right. Sometimes I would choose, but not always the weakest team.
Yeah.
Because what I generally tended to do was close my eyes and go dink with the pin.
Pin the tail on the
and whatever team. That group was.
That was where you
outside
go.
of the English teams. That's the group I would go in.
Because then it throws up the question: you replace a team in that group, and they go out, but you go through.
Yeah.
Whose fixture do you take then into the knockout round and stuff?
This is a very good question, and it's sometimes I have to work this out a little bit. So. Usually, if I take the strong team, which mostly nowadays I do.
As in you replace a strong team?
As in I replace a strong team.
Yeah.
So instead of Real Madrid, it's me.
Wow.
It's North London.
That is a bold shout.
So then whatever Real Madrid get in the next round, that's who I play.
Yeah, okay.
You see what I mean? So unless it's an English team. Because until you reach, the semi-final, you can't play another English team. So the Champions League requires quite a lot of thought. And how do I work this out? Right, okay. So instead of playing Genk, I'm playing whoever it is.
Yeah, okay. Football Manager does all this for you.
Well, you see, I've never learned how to do Football Manager.
That was actually another comment we had from somebody, which I think is a really good idea about like a spin-off thing to this, is we should create North London on Football Manager and then start to play out games with that and do something around that in some way. I think that would be really fun.
That would, save me getting knocked by the sofa as well.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to explore that at some point maybe. We can start to look into how that might work.
Yeah. This world though, honestly, I mean, at certain times in my life where, as Mars knows too well, I've had health issues, I've had different situations, marriage breakup. There are times when you feel very low in your life, and this can take me to a place that just occupies my mind in a really lovely, enjoyable, harmless way. Because I'm thinking fixtures, I'm thinking tactics, I'm thinking players, who am I going to sign? Yeah. Like now, for example, just coming out of the transfer window, I was thinking all the way through it, should I sign somebody? Where is the weakness in the team? Is there a weakness in the team? If there is one, it was holding midfield, where I didn't quite have the cover. But now that Alex Hannaby has graduated from the youth academy.
Alex Hannaby, again, for people listening to this, is basically the producer of this podcast. The caveat being that she is a woman.
Yes.
So you've created Alex as a young.
I mean, the only other time I've ever done this is Florian Mosey.
Yeah, which is my sister Flo, right?
Because Flo wasn't, it felt bad that Flo was. So we were all, Dylan, Miles' wife Catherine, and me were staying at Cynthia Lennon's house in Mallorca, and we went to see Mallorca play, didn't we? Right at the beginning of their season.
I've still got the shirt. And actually, the game that we went to see, I think we might have seen them a couple of times, but this one I'm remembering was just because Marco Asensio, the Real Madrid player, came through the Mallorca Academy, and this was just as I think Real Madrid were in the process of signing him, but he was still at Mallorca. Yeah. So there was this 18-year-old Marco Asensio playing for Mallorca in their stadium, who everyone was like, oh my God, he's going to be incredible.
One of the things I remember about this was, so there the four of us sitting in a row, and the stadium was pretty much empty, wasn't it?
It was kind of sad, really.
Yeah, it was.
It's not a bad stadium, is it?
Except for the ultras over the far corner.
Yeah, well, always.
But 200 ultras. But of all places to sit in the entire stadium, there was a little boy sitting just behind us with a what are they called?
The vuvuzela.
Vuvuzela, that he was blowing literally in my ear.
Yeah.
And after about 2 minutes, I just had to turn around and tell him, could you please stop? And his dad looked at me and he went, football, like this. Do you remember?
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought Mallorca would be a great kind of nursery team.
Yeah. Through the years, they've had a lot of cool players come through their ranks.
Yeah. So we began to, I organised an arrangement with the Mallorcan football team, the management people there. That
I like it.
We would bring players through. We'd loan them players.
Yeah, I was going to say,
they could develop them.
You'd have more of an influx of a lot of Spanish players if you did it that way. But are you saying that they'd be kind of like a club that you'd send some of your youth prospects to build them up?
Absolutely.
A bit like when David Beckham went to Preston North End back in the day. And all that
yes, he did,
thing.
Didn't he? Yeah, I've forgotten that, but yes, he did.
Yeah.
So, Florian Mosey was playing for Mallorca.
In your head, not in real life. Right.
18 years old, just perfect, looking good. This holding midfield role is the one where, I think that position is extremely important for any team.
Very.
So Florian Mosey came in and played a few games for North London. Have to say, not a great success. Had Florian Mosey for a season, and then she went back to Mallorca. But, and this was the ironic thing, okay, and I still to this day don't completely understand how this happened, but Florian Mosey had one of the games of the season in that final match that he played.
The send-off.
I mean, every time I got the ball as Florian Mosey, I was just inspired, scored a brilliant goal. And I almost changed my mind about letting him go, but then we'd made all the
contracts had been signed by that point, hadn't
That's
they?
it.
Yeah,
so,
that was it.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah.
Well, hilarious. Yeah, I remember going to Mallorca. Good times. And actually, me and my younger brother Dylan nowadays, so my job outside of this is I'm a photographer. I shoot on old film a lot. I've got a social media account called Expired Film Club, and what I do nowadays is I go and shoot a lot of football teams on film. I've been invited along to a lot of stuff, and me and my younger brother Dylan, who played left wing in the England team, of course, famously. We do these trips twice a year where we go to a random country in Europe and go watch a football game and go and shoot it on film.
What are some of the highlights of these trips?
Well, I'm trying to think where we've been so far. So we started off in Ancona in Italy.
Yes.
Which is great. We did Poznan in Poland, Lech Poznan.
Versus,
it's a good question. Radomiak Radom.
Right.
That was great. And obviously Poznan, they do the Poznan.
They do the Poznan. So they turn their back.
Yeah. The ultras in Poland were amazing, actually. It was the stand behind the goals to our left, and there were 3 tiers to the stand, and they coordinated so that because they were white and blue. So the first tier all wore white shirts, the second tier all wore blue, and the third tier all wore white.
Yes.
So, and there was a guy at the front with the drum and conducting them all. It was really cool. Then we did...
well, I mean, I just think it's really exciting that we've got our own charters. On the terraces. It's brilliant. I love this.
Yeah, that's good. We're going to have to start getting this going.
And there's a guy who stands at the front, sort of bare-chested, turning around and orchestrating everybody. Yeah. That's Brian Houston.
Yeah. Those are the North London Ultras.
Yeah.
We'd have some sort of name for them.
Yeah.
But
if you've got an idea for a name for the North London Ultras, then...
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, for sure. But so me and Dylan are next off to North Macedonia, Bob.
Right.
To go watch FC Skopje. So we'll do some scouting for you if you like, and we'll come back with some recommendations.
That's a really good idea.
See if we can get some North Macedonian players in the team.
We're pretty good, though. I mean, I think that this team that we've got now is going to be this team for another season. It's really... Osimhen is my number 9.
Nice.
And then with... I've got, as I said, I've got Kylian Mbappe on the right.
On the right?
So, of the three, yes. Because I've got Chiesa I like Aoife Rahman. He plays a lot on the left, and I can switch him. And
interchangeability.
If Osimhen's not playing particularly well, and I must say he's been a little bit disappointing, I move Mbappe through and have him through the middle. Yeah. And of course, all of these they're being fed by great passes from Dan Olsen, who can also score from like 25 yards.
Yeah.
And Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
Jude Bellingham is that absolute box-to-box number 6. And boy, I mean, he's dynamic beyond belief. So
we've been seeing that this year, haven't we?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Thank you for sending all the questions in. If you have more, by the way, please send them in on our socials, and we'll do our best to answer them on there at A Game of No Halves across all social media. We also post clips of the podcast and loads of behind-the-scenes type of stuff as well, including some looks at all of these documents that Bob's typed out over the years.
Yes.
So feel free to come and follow us on social media if you'd like to see more of that.
And guests too, we hope.
Guests, there will be guest specials coming
up. We're lining up
as well.
Guests as well.
Absolutely. We'll be back the same time next week for another episode of A Game of No Halves, where we'll rejoin the history of North London and see how things are going in the football world for them as things stand.
And actually, Mars, I can hear the chant.
Oh, can you?
In the background.
Okay, fine. Oh, well, we better get off now. But thank you for listening. Please rate and subscribe, and we'll see you for another one soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.